Mexican Whiteboy, adapted from a book called Mexican Whiteboy by Matt de la Peña. A. Danny lands in National City.
Danny follows his favorite cousin, Sophia, along Potomac Street. Some girls shout, "Hey, Soph! Yo, girl!" Sophia waves and pulls Danny towards the group of girls. "Yo, this is my cousin, Danny. He's gonna stay with us for the summer," Sophia says. "Yo, cuz, these are my girls," she says to Danny. "Hey," the girls say together. Danny nods with a shy smile, and he looks down at the ground. He's very tall for 16, over 6 foot. He's skinny with long, thin arms. These long arms are great for baseball, and Danny can pitch a ball very fast. His skin is brown. He's half Mexican brown, darker than all the white kids at his private high school. But here in National City, where his dad grew up and where all his aunts and uncles live, he feels very white. "Oh, girls," Sophia adds, "Danny isn't a big talker. He's very smart, but he doesn't say a lot." Danny smiles politely, but he feels very shy. The girls chat and laugh, and they notice his cool surfer clothes, different from the clothes of the other kids here. Danny looks around and sees a group of guys who are playing stickball in the street. They're all wearing baggy jeans and white t-shirts, and they're all Mexican, except for the guy with the stickball bat. He's black. Seeing these kids makes Danny think about his father. Did he play stickball in the street when he was a kid? Then Danny thinks about the kids at his school. They don't play stickball. Why don't white kids play stickball? He wonders. Maybe because they have real baseball fields. Danny watches the Mexican kids. He'd love to play stickball with these guys. He notices a girl, a very pretty girl. She's running after a little boy in the street. She's Mexican too, but she looks different, special. Danny gets a strange feeling in his stomach when he looks at this girl.
B. Danny meets Uno.
Sophia walks over to the guys who are playing stickball. "Who's winning?" she asks. "Who do you think?" the black kid, Uno, says. Sophia smiles. "This is my cousin Danny. He's better than all you fools at baseball." "You talking crazy," one of the guys says. Then they come over to Danny and try to show him the neighborhood handshake. But Danny can't do it, and everybody laughs. "If you want to play, you gotta put down some paper," Uno says to Danny. Sophia puts $2 in the hat. Danny takes the stickball bat and waits. He says nothing. He never speaks at school. There, he's the Mexican kid, and the other kids don't talk to him. They don't see him. He feels invisible. But here it's different. Everybody notices him. "What's the problem with your cuz, Sophia?" Uno asks. "Has the cat got his tongue?" "Just pitch the ball, Uno," Sophia says. "You talk too much." Uno picks up the ball and he pitches it. But Danny doesn't move. He just watches the ball. So Uno pitches the ball again, and again Danny doesn't move. "Come on, cuz, hit it," Sophia says to Danny. Everybody is watching now. Danny sees the pretty girl with the kid, too. He wonders what these people think of him. He wonders if any of these kids will be his friends at the end of the summer. Uno pitches again. Danny watches the ball carefully, and he hits. Perfect contact. It sounds like a shot. The ball goes up and up. It disappears over the houses. Everybody in the street watches it. Nobody says anything. Then they all look at Danny, and they look at each other. At last, Sophia shouts, "Ha! See? I told you! I told you!" Uno pitches again, and again Danny hits the ball. Again, the ball disappears over the houses. The girls jump up and down and give each other high fives. The next time that Uno pitches, he throws the ball at Danny's face. Danny jumps back, and the bat flies through the air. It hits Manny, Uno's brother. Manny shouts and cries, and there's lots of blood on his face. Everybody runs to help Manny. But Uno runs at Danny and pushes him. "What are you doing, man? Why did you do that to my brother?" he says. "It was an accident," Sophia shouts. "Yeah, it was an accident," Danny says. "I'm sorry." Uno pushes Danny again. Danny falls and hits his head on the ground. Sophia shouts and tries to hit Uno. Danny stays on the ground. There's blood on his head. Someone is helping him. A girl. Then he closes his eyes. When he opens his eyes again, he sees the pretty girl with the baby. She looks worried. He tries to smile, but his head hurts, and he closes his eyes again.
C. Between two cultures.
For 2 weeks, Danny doesn't leave his uncle's house. He stays in bed a lot and doesn't want to talk to anybody. One day, he goes alone to an old baseball field. This is the field where his dad used to play, a long time ago. Danny has a photo. Now nobody goes there. Everything is broken, and there's graffiti everywhere. Danny has a bag of balls with him. He starts practicing with these balls. He pitches them. Then he picks them up and pitches again. He likes being alone, so he begins to do this every day. And while Danny is practicing, he thinks about things. He likes living with his Mexican family. He loves the chatting, the jokes, the food. He's Mexican because his dad is Mexican. But he isn't really Mexican. He can't speak Spanish. He thinks, "I'm a white boy among Mexicans and a Mexican boy among white people." Danny is between two cultures. One day, Uno and Sophia are walking together near the old baseball park when they see Danny. But Danny doesn't see them. They watch him while he's practicing. After a little while, Uno walks over to Danny. Danny sees him, then he looks around. There's nobody there to help him if Uno starts to fight again. Uno nods to Danny. "Hey, man," he says. "Hey," Danny says quietly and looks down. Then Uno tells Danny about playing baseball on this field when he was a kid. But he never plays baseball now, only stickball. Danny listens, and then he says, "We can practice together, if you like." "Okay," Uno agreed. "You can pitch, and I can catch." Danny pitches the ball very hard. Uno catches it, but it hurts his hand and he falls back. Uno understands. Danny is still angry. Uno smiles. "All right, I understand. It's cool," he says. The next time, Danny doesn't pitch so hard. After that, the two boys meet every day at the old baseball field, and they practice together.
D. The green lollipop.
The summer is nearly over, and there's a party in Potomac Street. All the kids from the neighborhood are there, and the pretty girl who helped Danny is there too. Now Danny knows that her name is Liberty. But he's still shy. He still hasn't spoken to her, and he's going back to San Diego soon. They're playing a game called Truth or Dare. One girl says, "I dare Danny and Liberty to go out for a walk." Liberty stands up, and one of the boys pulls Danny out of his chair. Danny looks at Liberty. She gives him a shy smile. Then they both go outside in the street, and everybody cheers. They stand outside for a few seconds and don't say anything. They don't look at each other. Then Liberty says something in Spanish, but Danny doesn't understand. "I don't know what you said," he says. She smiles, and he smiles too. "Let's sit down," Danny says, and he points to the steps. "Yes," Liberty says. "Sí," Danny says. Liberty says something in Spanish. Danny doesn't understand, but he knows that it's nice. "I'm so happy now," he says, "being here with you, in National City. I love my dad's family, and I love the culture and the language and the food and the way people live. I wish I could tell you how pretty I think you are, in Spanish, but I can't, because I never learned." Liberty doesn't understand anything. She smiles. Then she opens her bag and takes out 2 lollipops, a green one and a red one. She offers one to Danny. He takes the green one, and they both put the lollipops in their mouths. They sit there in silence like that. Then Liberty lets her head fall against Danny's shoulder, just for a few seconds. And Danny thinks that those few seconds are more important than words.